I have that same problem. I look and I'm like, did I wear that tie yesterday?
Yeah. Well, we had some media training, and the advisor told us to, you always look good in blue.
Ooh, okay. My
We
sister-in-law did
conscientiously, I'm
like,
always trying to find something that's a little blue.
have you ever done like your color palette?
No, not
So
that I know of.
my sister-in-law is a graphic designer and did it for like the whole family. They put you in basically what looks like one of the capes that you get your hair cut in, and they get all of like the different like cool tones, warm tones, and they hold it up to your face. I swear, it's like if I hold one color up to my face, I'll watch the bags under my eyes disappear. I don't know how it
Oh,
works, but I think I'm a what's called a warm winter. So I've got to get my the other side of that is you got to purchase the clothes that go with that color scheme. So we're not there yet,
yeah,
but yeah, you
yeah.
said you
The
they said you
TV,
look good in blues.
so the TV studio doesn't provide you your wardrobe?
They used to. There was a time when I had a clothing allowance. I got haircuts reimbursed, but good thing I've got
Budget
a
cut, right?
budget cuts. But I've got a wife who's a cosmetologist, so I get my haircuts for free now. So
Good. Hey, that can add up.
do what?
That can definitely add up.
Oh, it can. It can
Yeah,
because we're
I had
actually,
mine cut and colored yesterday, so I had to cover I don't have much gray, but
let's see, I don't cut and
lighten it
color
a little
her
bit.
hair. I don't get to cut and color her hair, so I know what that costs for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor Fraser, we are about 15 seconds out or so.
Okay.
I've got I've got our notes here. Thanks again, Jennifer, and
She's
we will get
she's
right to
awesome,
it.
isn't she?
She isn't she great?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Here we go. Good Wednesday morning, guys, and welcome to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We're halfway through the week. Let's make the second half better than the first. And as we always do, once a month, we welcome on our mayors from the suburbs of Shelby County. And we are joined now with Mayor of Collierville, Maureen Fraser, joining us once again. She liked us enough to where she said, okay, I'll deal with Parker again. And you know, I'm fine with that. I'll take that as a compliment. So we had a lot happen in Collierville over the month of July. Let's give a quick recap. It's crazy that within this month we had 4th of July, that feels like it was a month ago. Now we're getting ready for back to school season in all of our school districts, Collierville no exception. But let's give a brief recap of what we saw in Collierville over the month of July. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be back, Parker. And yeah, the July was super busy. And again, it's hard to believe this is the last week of July. We had an amazing celebration for Independence Day, honored our veterans. In the park alone, where we hosted, there was over 20,000 people.
Wow.
And everyone is still, I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were talking about how amazing the fireworks were, how many there were, how loud they were. And they just continued and continued. So that was amazing. Our parks division has been super busy. They hosted a Camp Smile for the special needs population. And I was fortunate to receive an invitation the day they were doing a talent show. And oh, those young adults are so precious. And people ask me, is it hard being the mayor? And some days it is, but there's a
Some
lot
days
of
it
fun that
is.
goes on with being the mayor. So Camp Smile was definitely one of those. And we have our final concert series for the Main Street Carnival Music on the Square this Thursday evening, starting at 7 p.m. So we'll kick it off with a bash. There's food trucks, free music, entertainment, and it's a great community event on our town square.
I love it. It's such a great way to experience the square if you don't go there often. Just a great way to, as the sun sets, 7 p.m. Uh, when it gets a little bit lower in temps, we've really been through a gauntlet this past week. But again, yes, a great experience. Last one coming up, guys, 7 p.m. as she said. Get out and give it a try. I've seen a couple of posts on it. Like it is such a cool time, especially with the food trucks out there. So speaking of school getting started back, you did a joint session with the Collierville School Board to talk about some joint initiatives you're working on. Collierville, I mean, it's not a stretch of the imagination, like one of the best, if not the best school systems we have in the state of Tennessee. Obviously, thanks in part to a great working relationship between the school board and the city of Collierville. Take us into that joint meeting. What were some of the takeaways, and what are some of those joint projects we're going to be working on, to kind of, work together here?
Sure. And we all have to cooperate and work together. And it was a great meeting this past Monday. We talk about anything really that is going to pertain to what's happening with the start of school as far as road construction projects, enrollment trends. Our planning division is there talking about what kind of housing starts and initiatives that we have going on there. We had a debate that started not a debate, a discussion about e-bikes. It's been a constant concern throughout the summer as we're seeing more and more youth and adults on e-bikes. So we talked about how that might affect transportation for some of the students to the schools. And that continued into our board meeting. We have an ordinance that we're working on for regulations of e-bikes. And there is a public hearing coming up, and I want to make sure I have the date right. It's on August the 10th. So there will be a public hearing during our board meeting that night at 6 p.m. to talk about e-bikes. I know there's people that are passionate on both sides. We just need everyone to be safe. So we're going to work on some kind of regulation that hopefully will keep our residents safe if they're walking on the Greenbelt trails and keep the bikers safe as well. And just getting to know the school board members better and knowing what our roles are and how we can all work together. Because a lot of times the residents, they don't know the difference. And the schools, they're anticipating approximately 9,000 students.
Wow.
And so we want to make sure we kick it off great and work together throughout the school year and continue to make things great in Collierville.
Of course, no, and you talk about the e-bike public hearing, you talk about transportation. We've been kind of covering the ongoing Shelby Drive construction, some of the traffic concerns there. What updates do you have in terms of that project? I know we have a couple people at the station who live out there in Collierville, and so they've got kids in the school system or who have just freshly graduated, so they're very familiar with that area, as I'm sure many parents are. But what's the status update on that project?
Yes, that project is about 6 to 8 weeks from opening 2 lanes. So school will start back as school ended last spring or summer. And so that will be closed from 72 to the fire station entrance, just like it was when school ended. And then in about 6 to 8 weeks, there will be two-way traffic on half of the road. And then we're hoping by December, the entire road will be open up again. So it's coming. It'll be soon. It'll go fast, but it'll be
Good.
open here soon.
Before we know it, in the snap of a finger. Good deal. So I
Yes.
kind of want to keep it in the sense of, back to school. We're going to get into some upcoming events for the month of August, but we've got a very special event coming up on July 31st, and that's going to be something that you made a proclamation for Trey Irwin Day, in memory of that Collierville student. I want to talk about that really quickly. Obviously it's nice to remember students, but what led you to make that proclamation this upcoming July 31st?
Well, July 31st would have been Trey Irwin's 30th birthday. And Trey was a student at Collierville High School. He actually was in my daughter's class.
Oh, wow.
And he had cancer, pancreatic cancer. And when Mayor Joyner had a proclamation for him for his 16th birthday, and Lisa Irwin, who is an amazing mother, and her son and her husband, it's just an amazing family. Lisa reached out and said, "Hey, Maureen, is there something we can do to honor Trey, honor his 30th birthday?" But she wanted to give back. And so her and I spoke, and then I said, let me talk to some of our town administrator and our library director. But she and I decided that it would be great to do some kind of giving back to the expansion project at the Collierville Library and the Civic Center.
Yep.
So we put our heads together. So Friday, the 31st, is Trey's 30th birthday, and it is Trey Irwin Day. And Lisa and her family are asking if anyone would like to make a donation in honor of Trey, that it would go to the Friends of the Collierville Library for the expansion. And as of last evening, I believe it's over $13. I think it's a 13 is an odd number, but like
Yeah.
Lisa said yesterday, if everyone gave $13, it would be over $90,000 for the library
Wow.
expansion.
And on that note, we're segueing perfectly into some upcoming events. We have a groundbreaking coming up for that library expansion. Very exciting time. My wife is going to be jumping for joy. She's a big proponent for local libraries, and to see expansions like this that are more than just the books, but also you've got the modernized teen center, the upgraded civic center. There's so many different outlets that are going to be a part of this expansion. So August 12th, I believe, is the groundbreaking ceremony we've got coming up. Give us a bit of an insight into that project. Very exciting.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. Several boards of mayor and aldermen throughout the years, we've been saving money for this expansion, knowing that it's happening. And there's so much that goes on in the library that is, people don't even realize. The adult programming, the youth programming. They just finished wrapping up the summer reading program. In the new expansion, there will be a podcast room. There will be an area that's like a sanctuary, that glass windows that you can just sit and read or just sit and think. A quiet place. I know the library's changed from when I was little, because I know we couldn't talk in the library. We would get in
Right.
trouble. Our library is like, it's a big community center, and that is the place that everybody wants to be. And the meeting room rentals, they have smaller areas for 4 people, like the study rooms, and there have been so many reservations for those. It is really, it's a hopping place. And on Wednesday, August the 12th at 9 a.m., we will have, as I say, we're going to throw some dirt and celebrate and the expansion of the library with the Civic Center. And there will be a room that will hold up to 300 people for civic events, meetings, event space, but for the community to use.
Fantastic. So I love to see a resource like that continue to be poured into by the community. Very exciting stuff. But, let's go ahead and talk. We've talked about August 10th, August 12th, a couple of meetings, but early August, we've got some events right off the bat. We've got National Night Out. August 4th, we talked last month about, the launch of season 2 of Herald Live, but those events are right around the corner. Let's give folks a reminder. A lot of events happening in the month of August, and, with kids going back to school, parents are going to be looking to kind of get back into that routine, and part of that's going to be finding some good things to do. Take your mind off of syllabus week and the fire hose of getting back into school, right?
Yeah, it'll be a busy time, but August 4th, Tuesday night, is National Night Out, and hopefully a lot of the neighborhoods are registering. We registered just so we know where we need to be. All the elected officials and our police officers will separate, and we'll go out and we'll go to as many parties and events that we can attend, and that will be starting, I believe it's at 5:30 on Tuesday, August 4th, and we need your weathermen to make sure that it's nice and cool that night.
I'll call
Because
Ron.
the cooler it is, the more people will be out. So no pressure. Then on the 13th is the Jimmy Buffett cover band as part of the Herald Live. And then we have a big celebration downtown, along partnering with the City of Germantown on Train Heritage Day. And that is on Saturday, August the 15th. So there's a lot of free activities. You can visit the train depots both in Collierville and in Germantown. So again, always trying to have wonderful community events to bring our residents and our visitors together.
I love that. And again, just an opportunity to experience Collierville, as that sun is setting, gets you out, gets you experiencing some music. I don't know, something about spring and summer and live music outside, it hits me in the right spot. I hope if we're coming back for a second season, it's obviously shown some success. So hopefully we can repeat the success we saw last year. I saw that you've got a boutique hotel proposal on North Main Street, some upcoming public business. There's been a lot of, we've talked with several towns on the digital desk, whether it's the town of Bolivar, Tennessee, several that have been finding ways to reinvent downtown space, Main Street space, square space to turn into boutique hotels. There's a charm there that I think appeals to a lot of people who live locally who might want to make a staycation out of it, get out of the house, some kind of a getaway without getting away, if you know what I'm saying. So what is in the queue right now for Collierville? It feels like same song, different dance, but a trend that we're seeing in a lot of our historic downtown areas in the Mid-South.
Well, I always say, Parker, it's always better in Collierville than anywhere else. However, we do have a property owner that is interested in possibly building a boutique hotel right off the town square on North Main Street. And it kind of wraps around what used to be the Kaz's garage area. There is a business there now, the Army Surplus Store, and it will be part in that general area. And they are coming to our Historic District Commission for a non-voting work session discussion, just to kind of get an idea of the feel. What is the concept? What is the project? How will it impact Collierville? What could it look like as far as the height goes? And our Historic District Commission will be looking at that and meeting with them on the 27th of August. It is for information. No decisions have been made yet. I believe they are still working on all of their numbers, construction costs, how many rooms do they need, what kind of restaurants and things would go in there. But this is definitely a preliminary discussion.
And are those meetings, are those open to the public? You know, we want to make sure people love that stuff, or that, you know,
Yes.
there's always a group that's against something, but you know, for people to vocalize their support or their opposition, that's a public meeting, correct? That Historic District Commission.
It definitely is a public meeting, and it's all education. I mean, we like to educate everyone so they understand what's going on. And so, yes, all of our meetings are open to the public unless there's an attorney-client meeting. But other than that, everyone is always invited to attend.
Understood. We're running short on time here, but I do want to get you, now that I've got you for our monthly meeting, and I hope you'll come back after I ask this question, but the Chick-fil-A, that has been such a hot topic over the last several months. We had that special called city council meeting a couple of weeks ago. And so for those who have kind of been loosely following this, kind of give us the 30,000 foot view of the situation with Chick-fil-A in Collierville, because I too am finding myself fascinated by the controversy that this has caused. But it, you know, all things said and done, it sounds like we're getting this Chick-fil-A at a location that some people were opposed to, some people were for. It's made headlines for good reason, but I'm hoping you can give us that view.
Yes, it definitely has been in the headlines, and it has been going on. Oh my goodness. The vote of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen was in January of 2024. So it's been
Right.
2.5 years of discussion and going back and forth. And the meeting was last week, Thursday, so it was not quite a week ago. And the board voted to approve the preliminary site plan for the relocation of Chick-fil-A and to overturn an appeal that was going to the state court. So we do have some additional steps that we'll take. The applicant does need to come back as far as a final site plan and their development agreement. But at this point, the board has approved for them to proceed with their preliminary site plan. They will be building a new Chick-fil-A, and it will be at Cartwright Way, Poplar Avenue, just, I guess that's west of Bray Station Road. And so it is proceeding, and the next step, they will come back for a final site plan.
Got it. You're definitely right. It was last week. It's just sometimes with this job, yesterday can feel like last week, and last week can feel like last month, and I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes in the mayorship. But no, very fascinating stuff. All said and done, a lot of progress happening in Collierville, whether it's road construction, hypothetical boutique hotels, a school board that's getting to know city council a little bit better in anticipation for what we hope to be another great school year for Collierville schools. Maureen Fraser from town of Collierville, thank you so much for coming on. We'll love to have you back next month. Not next week, next month. It's all running together. I'm going to let you go before we both start getting time compiled together. But thank you again. Always appreciate our mayors coming in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Parker.
Wonderful. No, yeah, we love having Mayor Fraser. We've already had Germantown. We've got David Parsons coming up for the city of Bartlett. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, guys, we've Spent a lot of time talking to Maureen Fraser, but it's okay because I love it. But we've got more headlines for you, more weather to get to. It's going to be a hot one with some rain smattered about our area. We're going to go to break really quickly, but we'll be back with all of those updates for you on the Action News 5 digital desk. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get into some headlines now, starting with a story that we're following from late last night. This is a scene from the intersection of Front Street and Saffrons Avenue just after 9 o'clock last night, where a man is in a hospital recovering after he was shot. Officers responded to this area and brought a man and a woman into custody. Officers found the victim, sent him to the hospital. He was in non-critical condition, still is. This investigation, we're told, is ongoing. Now we have a story involving Memphis police and two murder suspects. Investigators with police say Joseph Harris and Ashundra Lee shot and ran over a man last Tuesday in the Wilson Street and Gill Avenue area of Castalia Heights. You might remember when we brought you this story around that time. After the shooting, police say the two stole a car and were last seen in Fayetteville, Arkansas, in a white Honda SUV with Arkansas tags. If you're familiar with that area, from that area, maybe you've seen that car, you're asked to call Memphis Crime Stoppers at 901-528-CASH. The family of a man who died in 201 Poplar last year, they're suing Shelby County over the way he was treated before his death. Now, this is Raquez McDaniel, who sparked protests and a bail fund for low-level offenders. His death did, rather. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office says he had a medical emergency, but his family says McDaniel was having an obvious mental health crisis after sitting in his cell for 8 days. The family says the day he died, a riot team sprayed him, left him strapped to a chair, and did not give him medical attention. According to the lawsuit, the autopsy ruled his cause of death as undetermined. TBI is now investigating this case. The county can't comment on pending litigation. Now to Nashville, where 48 active and retired medical professionals want Tennessee Governor Bill Lee to pause executions because of the failed attempt to execute Memphis man Tony Carruthers a couple of months ago. The campaign to end the death penalty, that's the group, the campaign to end the death penalty. They held a press conference in Nashville demanding the state corrections, quote, demonstrate meaningful improvements. They also sent a letter signed by those 48 doctors to the governor. Darrell Hines is the next person scheduled to be executed. That is scheduled for August 13th. Folks, welcome back to travel news now, where Delta has now canceled its nonstop flights to New York City, specifically JFK International. The routes had been suspended for a while before being removed completely. Their last flight there was back in early June. While this flight is gone, Delta will continue to serve Memphis to New York via LaGuardia. So not a complete cancellation of Memphis to New York. We lost JFK, we keep LaGuardia. You can still get to the Big Apple one way or another when you fly with Delta. Meanwhile, American Airlines, they've resumed flights after a nationwide systems outage. You might remember this. The airline says technology issues briefly impacted connectivity for some of their systems. However, those systems are coming back online now, thankfully. Flights are departing again. According to a statement from American, it's unclear at this point how many of those flights were affected. Back to school season, Memphis Shelby County Schools, they'll open in less than a week, Monday, and it's still looking to fill jobs on multiple fronts. The district spends $32 million a year on transportation for more than 26,000 students. Expanding bus services would cost nearly $10 million more per year, money the district doesn't have, we're told. Crossing guards, they're managed by MPD, not the school district. The city is still posting that part-time position today. The state's forensic audit tied the broader staffing struggles to years of leadership turnover that, in its words, eroded institutional knowledge across the district. And in the classroom, one board member said they were about 200 understaffed, and they're currently actively recruiting. School starts, once again, next Monday. And if you're looking to save money on back-to-school shopping, Tennessee and Arkansas shoppers, you're going to have a way to save a few bucks for sales tax-free weekend. Sales tax-free weekend. Say that 5 times fast. Tennessee runs Friday through Sunday, while Arkansas is Saturday and Sunday. Now get this. Sure, food delivery apps are quite popular with Americans. Specifically, though, with American teens. A new survey shows that 1 in 4 teens, ages 13 to 17, use food delivery apps while they're in school. The survey found a majority of teens order fast food like pizza and burgers. It also found that in the western U.S., more likely students are to be allowed to use these apps during school compared to other parts of the country. That makes sense. I ain't seeing none of that in the South here. Now, should students be allowed to use delivery apps during school hours? That's a big question, but nearly half of them say yes, while also with some concern over distractions and campus safety. Speaking of school, we're in Mississippi now, where students in the North Panola School District, which they go back tomorrow, and leaders want parents and students in that district to know some new attendance laws. We've told you about this, but North Panola is really driving it home. Students now must attend 66% of their instructional day, not year, 66% of the day. Excused absences, they're now capped at 5 per semester. Any absences after the 3rd day, that's going to require a medical excuse. Schools can also file a court petition at just 8 unexcused absences, and the certificate of enrollment deadline moves up to August 15th, which is a full month earlier than before. And we know it, back to school paperwork and those shots, those can be a hassle. But in Arkansas, the Department of Health there is trying to make it easier for families this upcoming school year. ADH says families can contact their local health unit to schedule appointments for shots and updated records. Even if you don't have coverage, your child still can get school shots at no cost. The first copy of a birth certificate costs $12, with additional copies costing $10 each. We also have a link for Shelby County residents. That's on our website, actionnews5.com. And back to school season is underway. As we all know, Action News 5, we're looking into everything from supplies to safety to what families should be aware of before that first bell rings. The first bell has rang for a couple of districts already. Marion, Corinth, as we said, North Panola, they go back tomorrow. Lafayette County, A lot of North Mississippi districts. McNairy County's on Friday in Tennessee. We're also going to be featuring interviews with school leaders throughout the Mid-South. We have been talking to superintendents all over. We've got more today with Collierville and Germantown. Make sure to tune into A Better Memphis for back-to-school coverage every weekday afternoon at 4 o'clock. This is the one shot we could get yesterday, but you look at that. That is not an illusion. That is a Matta trolley in downtown Memphis. Getting back on track, pun intended. Workers were out testing them yesterday, and they have been all month, actually. Matta tells us that they don't have a timeline yet on when trolleys will be back up and running, fully operational, but earlier this month they said it's still a long road ahead. So don't let the one shot that we show you encourage. TDOT gave Matta a roadmap of all the requirements they need to do to reach service and resume service, that is. I would like trolleys to come back. Can we play that video again? Hang on, let's find it. Give me 1 second. I want to find that video. There it is. It just gets me nostalgic. I hope it comes back soon. Such a fun time. Bring it back, Memphis. Finally, we're going to cap off your headlines with a new restaurant coming to Memphis, Dave's Hot Chicken, coming to Memphis. And that's where it's going. The former Spin Street, you might remember, it closed its doors in 2017. This is all according to real estate agency Finnard Properties. They say it's opening a location at that Poplar Plaza shopping center at the corner of Poplar and Highland. It's good that they're going to be doing something with it. That's been everything from a campaign headquarters to a Spirit Halloween. It's always something there, thankfully, that they're, keeping the gears turning, I guess, in that Poplar Plaza. But it's going to be a Dave's Hot Chicken. That gets me excited. I love me some hot chicken. All right, guys, bit of good news, bit of bad, but all of it coming to you on the Action News 5 digital desk. And we've got more, including a first look at weather with First Alert meteorologist Patrick Ellis, but you're going to have to wait until after the break. More Action News 5 digital desk. Stay with us.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm First Alert meteorologist Patrick Ellis. Yet another hot, humid day here across the Mid-South, touching 99 degrees. And it wouldn't be surprising if we do get a couple of spots to make a run for 100 for actual air temperature. Then you factor in the humidity levels, and feels like temperatures will likely crest closer to about 110 degrees here across the area. I want to give you an exclusive look here with our heat stress model. This is a look at how heat is going to affect your body. And of course, over the course of the coming hours, humidity levels, heat is all going to come together and really push the stress on your body to extreme levels, especially after about 11 o'clock this morning through the early evening hours. So at this point, you want to be inside. You don't want to be trying to get out and about here. And of course, we know that that is not the case for everybody. A lot of folks have to work outside. So at this point, you got to stay hydrated. You got to take those breaks in the shade or indoors and just being neighborly, checking in on your people. Make sure also, even if you're working outside, checking around with your coworkers, make sure everybody's good. It's like, just being neighborly in that sense can help out as well. And it'll take probably until after 5 or 6 o'clock this evening before things start to calm down. And by the time we head through about 10 o'clock, this is about the time that your AC starts to actually work. after we get past the elevated stage here and into the overnight period. Then tomorrow, not nearly as hot, but you'll definitely notice there's still a little bit of a steam to it here as we head through the course of the afternoon hour. So a reminder here today, stay hydrated, limit your time outdoors, reschedule outdoor work if you can, and of course, again, hydrate, 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 be neighborly, checking in on the elderly, children, and make sure your pets are taken care of as well. Moving forward, though, as we head into your day on, let's see here, on Wednesday, we're looking at some opportunities for showers and storms. So let's talk about, first off, the chances for a few showers and storms even this evening. So we're going to start the First Alert Futurecast 7 o'clock this evening. A little cluster of showers and storms will drift in across the area. I think eastern Arkansas and western Tennessee will have a best chance for seeing a few showers through about midnight tonight. Then we'll have a few hit and miss showers that will take us into tomorrow morning. Morning clouds, afternoon sun breaks, and maybe a little drier air trying to sneak in on the backside of a front that will slip us away farther down to the south. Maybe a little better chance for some showers and storms, 30–40% rain chances across portions of northwest Mississippi into eastern Arkansas. We'll all dry out. We'll wake up early on Thursday a little bit more comfortable. And actually, a lot of spots in north of the I-40 corridor could be in the upper 60s for a start-off point there. That will get you to the upper 80s and low 90s through the afternoon hours. Friday's not bad. We'll have a chance for a few afternoon showers and storms. We'll go into Saturday. And again, I don't think Saturday's going to be a washout of your plans, but there will be at least some opportunities off and on for some showers and thunderstorms to roll through the area. And similarly, we'll probably do the whole process over again for your Sunday. Yes, another day. And both days featuring pretty high humidity, but also temperatures that will only manage the middle to upper 80s. So not nearly as hot. It's because of a little disturbance that's going to sit basically on top of us, not just for Saturday and Sunday, but even going into Monday as MSCS gets back into school sessions here across the Memphis-Shelby County. Temperature starting off in the low 70s in the morning on Monday. Not an issue for rain, but we might have one or two spotty downpours by the end of the day as that run up to about 90 degrees will be the call there. The extended forecast as other school districts get back into session here over the next several days. Yes, today the hottest, and then we'll kind of ease our way back closer to what is typical for late July, early August standards here across the Mid-South. Hot and humid on a standard basis. Today, though, kind of is the launch point or the finishing point, really, of the biggest heat that we will have to endure, at least in this next 10 days.
We're getting ready to welcome our friends from the Memphis International Airport. They are going to be having their second annual Runway 5K. I mean, if anything, a very picturesque event and a very unique event. How many of you get to say you ran a race on the tarmac of an international airport? But you don't have to hear it from me. You get to hear it from our friend Mia Harvey from Memphis International, who's sort of spearheading the organization for this second annual event. First off, Mia, good morning. We're happy to have you to talk more about this event and help promote it. Some healthy living here in Memphis in the Mid-South. First off, good morning. What's going to be new, or is it going to be we did perfect the first time, we're going to go again and see if we can recreate the success we saw? We're just excited. We're excited to have you on and excited to promote this event. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you again for having us. We are super excited. As So now that you're hearing that it's a second annual, so obviously the first one went just great. So we are excited to bring it back September 19th this year. We are expanding how many registrants we'll have available this year. First year we tried to cap it around 1,000. Well, we kept moving up. So let me say this: when we first started to plan it last year, we were like, "Oh, we'll be good if we get like 300 people to participate." Then we got to 300. Then we're like, okay, well, let's go to 500. Then we got 500 people to sign up. So then we were like, okay, well, let's go for 750. We got 750 people to sign up. And so we said 1,000, and we got to about 983. So we're here to be able to have cap at about 2,000. And so if you're interested, I would say go ahead and start signing up now.
That's incredible. And so that's part of the reason why we're having you on. Registration is open. We had the early bird registration. Now it's just the regular window is open. It's in September, so we've got some time to work with. But I mean, as you were saying, I mean, those spots are filling up quickly. Was that shocking for you to see? Because I mean, any inaugural event, you're never really sure, is this going to hit off to a great success? But you just kept expanding the cap, and you hit 1,000 last year. And like, let's not bite off more than we can chew. Let's make sure first and foremost we can handle this. But to practically double the cap, was that surprising for you?
It was a little surprising. We figured that would be a few years down the road. There's a few other airports, not necessarily close here, but that do the same sort of event. So the Miami airport does it. The the Charlotte airport does it. Atlanta airport does it. And so we figured that it would take us a few years to kind of get to those big numbers. But for us to knock it out the park the first year, we're super excited to be able to do that. And so we are definitely, there were some lessons learned, but it went off without a kick. We heard a lot of people that loved the event. Surprisingly, some people said that they did not hear about it. So, we're really appreciative for you guys to be able to help us to spread the word that this is such a cool event. And again, as you said before, who would have thought, or who can say that they were able to run on a runway where actually you'll see planes taking off. You'll get able to run under a 777 airplane. We'll also have some other kind of airplanes out as well. So we're super excited about this year.
Yeah, we're showing video from last year. You saw our Jerry Askin. He was one of the MCs. He's a big runner, ran it himself. And it's not one of those situations where you say, oh yeah, it's at the Memphis International Airport and maybe it's in the parking lot. It's like we're showing imagery now. Like we're on the tarmac, we're running underneath one of the FedEx 747s. I mean, it's one of those unique events that honestly adds to a little bit of the enticement. It's not just some trail through a neighborhood. It's like, hey, you want to come run on the tarmac at Memphis International? Let's do it. I mean, how long is the tarmac? Is this a straight line from one end to the other? I mean, it wouldn't shock me if I have terrible depth perception. So if you were to tell me that was the equivalent of a 5K, I'd believe you. But what does our course look like? Are we running in a straight line and then down and back? What are runners going to be able to see when they come and they start from the starting line and into the finish line?
So I've heard a lot from the runners that this was actually one of the best courses because it was flat.
No way.
You have a small incline when you first start, and then really it's you just think of it. We won't want an airplane going like this. So it's a really cool flat surface. You kind of do a roundabout, and then you circle back to our to the start finish lines in the same area. So super flat area. And like I said, runners, or the feedback that we got last year, is that this was one of the best areas to run, strictly because of how the surface was. So and also I just want to bring up that this is a great opportunity, or a lot of people don't know that the airport, we have a 501c3. So it's called the Memphis International Airport Foundation. And so we do a lot of great things in the community. And so the proceeds from this race is what goes to that foundation, where we're able to expand, get middle school and high school students, and even college students interested in careers in aviation. We want to strengthen our talent pipeline here in Memphis. We also have an annual art program that this foundation supports, and other community initiatives in the area.
That's great. And you're 2 steps ahead of me because that was my next question. Obviously, registration has a fee to it, but what is it going toward? Well, it's going to that 501c3 that you mentioned, the art project, helping try and promote aviation, getting students involved in those programs. We've got a few in the area. I know Delta State down in the Delta, they've kind of got a pipeline up here to FedEx. U of M's got kind of a fledgling aviation program, commercial aviation program they're trying to build up a little bit. So it's great that in a place like Memphis where we have FedEx, we'd love to have some locally grown pilots, and this is just one of the ways to try and promote that. So great stuff you're doing in the community.
And I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Parker, also, we the careers in aviation is not always the ones we want to expose them to are not necessarily just like the pilots here, but also we have painters that we expose the careers to as well. And so the painters make sure that all of the markings on the runway with the special reflective paint are in federal guidelines. We have electricians here. We have mechanics who work on they don't necessarily work on airplanes, but work on any vehicles that help to support the operations here at the airport. We have operations duty managers that make sure that the runways are clear and safe and in regulation. So those are some of the careers. We have a K9 unit. We have our own police force here. And so those behind the scenes aviation careers are the ones we really want to connect students to as well. And again, those are middle school students and high school students. We have a program called MemSOAR, and so that is particular to that age group. And we also, one of the schools that we support right here in the community is the Oak Haven Community Schools as well.
MemSOAR, I love that. Thank you for cutting me off because that is so important. Because I mean, it's those behind the scenes jobs that people don't traditionally associate with the aviation industry, but the folks who paint the runways, we need safe runways for the planes to land, obviously, and there are people who paint the stripes on there. And I've got actually family who are mechanics over at the hub. So, I mean, those are important jobs. Need the planes to work. I've got one friend that works at the new de-icing facility. So, many different, I mean, like, I got some connects over at the airport, but but you're right. It's those behind and it's so important to open that up to students at a young age in high school through MemSOAR and let them know that, hey, these are careers that, the flight industry, especially FedEx, it's sustainable, if you will. So, a stable career there. So, so all of that coming from proceeds in part from this Runway 5K. Where are we now? I know registration just opened up, but are you able to see how many spots we have left? I'd hate to promote this and say, now we're already tapped out at 2,000. So where are we right now? Are you able to see?
We're good. We're at about 500. We do know that as we get closer to the race, people will start signing up. I will say, don't wait till the last minute. Like we are again, and one reason why we have to cap is because, as you can imagine, running in an airport, one of the most secure places. There's a lot of security clearance that has to go on before you can actually come in this area. And so that is one of the big reasons why we have to, have everyone signed up prior to the race. So I do want to stress that there is no day of sign up. And again, that is because we have to have special security clearance because of where the race is actually located on the runway.
Very important stuff. Okay, so last questions is sort of the logistics. So don't wait till the last day, but where can folks find sign-up information? How much is registration? What is probably the latest? When's the cutoff date for registration? I think there is a cutoff date so that you don't have those last day sign-ups. So last we'll get to is logistical information. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so you can find information on our website, www.flymemphis.com, and you'll see the Runway 5K kind of button at the top of the website. The last day to sign up is September 13th. Again, we have to get everyone's names in, who will be running, date of birth, all of those things. Another big thing is to make sure that everyone brings their ID day of, because those will be a check-in if you're signing up. Again, we've got a few spots available. Also, if anyone is interested in being a corporate sponsor, that would be an awesome opportunity as well. You do get a few registrations depending on what level you sign up for. So that's an awesome opportunity to get involved. Again, the proceeds go to a great cause here. We're really doing some great work behind the scenes here in Memphis and the surrounding community, and we will love to keep this pushing. The biggest thing is that you can find the cost, you can sign up. So we're about $45 now. Since the early bird special is over. We have if you have a stroller, you want to bring your kids, that'll be available as well. We'll have a few little smaller airplanes that you can go and view as well. We've got the Tennessee
Okay.
National Guard is going to help out, and of course our Purple Promise partners next door, FedEx. They're such a awesome team to work with, and they'll be providing the big planes for us as well.
Fantastic. All right, Mia Harvey with Memphis International. Thanks so much for coming on. We're personally excited. I know Jerry's going to be running in it again. I mentioned it off camera. I'm going to sign up. Like, very excited. Hopefully the weather's perfect. September seems like that prime running weather. If it cools off just a little bit and gives us sort of that intro into fall. Very excited again to help you promote it, and we hope folks will go on the website and fill that cap out again. Maybe we, make that a precedent. We'll just add 1,000 more for the next year and make it a success for MIMSOR and all the other nonprofits and benefits that Memphis International does in the community. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Parker. Sounds like you want to be an MC as well, so I'll get with you after the C.
Hey, I won't say no. So thanks again to her and for Memphis International for always being great partners. And so we're very excited to promote that event. And you heard Mia talk about the information on where you can find info. If you don't remember and want to go back and look, we'll obviously have this on our website, actionnews5.com. Click on the Digital Desk tab. We'll have more information.
Ariana Poindexter here, trying to get my bearings, but we have a really excited interview for you today. So before the new Broadway season officially kicks off this fall, Memphis audiences, they're going to get a very special weekend engagement of the Tony Award-winning musical Suffs. And joining us now to talk more about this is Laura Stracco. She is performing in this incredible performance. Laura, thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, the concept of this is so interesting. Tell us all the things. So if people aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about the show, the history, and what we can expect.
So this show is an incredible look into the passage of the 19th Amendment, which was ratified now back in 1920, and it's a very exciting time in the movement. We're coming in kind of at a late point of attack. The movement's been happening for 65 years, and we're kind of seeing the buildup of the old way of doing things versus the new way of doing things, and the energy behind all of that, and how tensions arise, and how everybody kind of wants the same goal, but we're moving towards it in different ways, and the excitement that comes from all of that.
That's really interesting. Tell us, obviously this is, a musical that was, several years ago, but I feel like it may still resonate with audiences today. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It's so relevant, a story like this at a time where the country can feel divided, a time when we can feel like we're maybe wanting different things. But this story is all about everyday people doing the thing that they believe is correct, the thing that they believe is just, and fighting for that, and fighting for each other, no matter what the cost. And I love seeing how that resonates with our audiences today, because they understand, they see they feel the call to action, they feel the call to civic duty. They understand that everyday people can make such a difference if they do a service that they feel called to do, especially in efforts for other people and humanity at large. It's an incredible lesson. This story will always be relevant, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And, of course, as you mentioned, this story highlights so many incredible women. Of course, Ida B. Wells, which is huge here in Memphis. Was there a particular moment or a person in history that sort of surprised you when you first learned about it, or that maybe you didn't know that kind of stuck with you and will maybe always stick with you?
I was surprised to learn about Phoebe Byrne, one of the women who I play. And, a lot of people think she is just a farmer's widow, small town gal living in Tennessee. And she was a college educated woman. She chose the life and the path that she chose. She wanted to run the family farm. She was incredibly inspired by her son, Harry Byrne, who, of course, cast the final vote to ratify the 19th Amendment in Tennessee, in Nashville. And I was really surprised to learn about her. And of course, like so many iconic women like Mary Church Terrell, Ida B. Wells, Carrie Chapman Catt, Alice Paul, all the women who lead our story, and how integral they were to the success of all women, not just white women, right? Because white women were really the only benefiters of the 19th Amendment, and how everyone fought in their own way for the thing that they knew was right.
I love that. You mentioned, of course, Ida B. Wells and Mary Church Terrell. And of course, there's the connection here to Memphis. So how does it feel to bring a show to a city that has so many ties to these women?
Whew. It is such an honor. It feels like part of my civic duty. It feels like part of what we are called to do as storytellers. Part of our responsibility is to keep these women alive, to keep their hard work resonant, to keep it present and in everyone's forefront, because there were so many women that were fighting for this, and we had male allies too. And to be able to go around the country, meet some of their ancestors, see where they grew up, see how they were drawn to civic duty, it feels like such an honor and an incredibly important one, and a small action that we can take towards the betterment of our community.
For sure. Laura, let me ask you, where are you from, and have you been to Memphis before?
So I'm from Pennsylvania. I grew up kind of between Philly and New York, and okay. I have been to Memphis before. I'm so excited to come back. So right out of college, like about a year after I graduated, I came down to Playhouse on the Square, and I did the internship program at Playhouse on the Square, and then I joined their resident company. And so I was up in Memphis for 2 years. I loved it so much. It made so much of my craft, of my work ethic, of my joy for creating art. And I owe so much to the people of Memphis and to the art history of Memphis. And I'm really excited to just pour back into it. I hope people come and join us, and I can just give back a little bit of what Memphis has given me. I'm so excited to come back.
Well, we are excited to have you. And yeah, if you stayed here and you're with Playhouse on the Square, you know all the things. So we are so excited to have you here, especially for this show. Obviously, with musicals, the music is such a big part of the storytelling. Is there a song or a moment in the show that you really love, or that audiences usually respond to?
We get such great audience response throughout the show. I think one of my favorite moments is actually our closing number. It's Keep Marching, and the whole sentiment behind it is, you may not get what you want right away. You may not see all of your hard work come to fruition right away, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. It doesn't mean that it's not worth fighting for, and it doesn't mean that it's not worth trying to leave this world a little bit better than we found it. And our director, our incredible director, Lee Silverman, always talks about how the closing number is an opening number, because it's a call to action. It's a call to say, hey, everyone, we are coming behind you. Your ancestors are behind you. They're all the proof you need. Shayna Taub's incredible words. And if you just keep marching, keep going, don't give up, and join the people around you in that fight, you cannot lose. It's one of my favorite moments in the show, because we get to really have this direct address to the audience to say, please join us and we'll do this together.
I love that. Such an important message. Of course, the show looks back at the fight for equality. And as we've been talking about, it reminds us that the work is not over, right? What sort of conversations do you hope that people have once they leave the theater, or things that maybe spark thought that maybe they haven't thought about, or, maybe deeper thought? What are some things you hope people take away?
I really hope this show sparks conversation for every household, for every friend group, for every family. My hope is that people learn something. I hope that they are like, oh, I didn't know that there was this tension. I didn't know that these people didn't get along. I didn't know that we were fighting in different ways. I hope that they see the thing that I always want to highlight about this movement is just the Black women who were fighting for something that they really did not think they were going to see in their lifetimes, and a lot of them didn't. And how much of a voice box the white women had, and how much sway and pull they had even with the Wilson administration, and how much harder the Black women had to fight. And so I hope people lean into the discomfort of the racial tension in this show. I hope that they are inspired by that, and to just kind of like pull back the curtain and talk about it. Talk about everything that makes us uncomfortable. Talk about everything that feels unfair and unjust, because there was so much of it. And in the face of that, there were Black women who were fighting anyway, in spite of all of that. And I find such incredible inspiration and further call to duty from that. And I hope that people see age differences. I hope they see someone or something that reminds them of themselves, or someone that they love. And I hope that they laugh and cry and dance and play with us, and see that we can do all of those things together.
And if anyone is watching this interview and they say, well, I'm not much of a history buff, I'm not really a musical person, what's something that you would say to them to maybe encourage them to, hey, just give it a chance and to check out stuff?
Yeah, you don't have to be a history buff to enjoy this. A lot of my friends and family that have come to see this are not like huge history fans. It's a story about everyone's voice being heard. It's a story about how we contribute to a better life. It's a story about, if you have a woman or women in your lives, you're going to love this show. It's a show for everyone. It's a show I hope people bring their kiddos to, because it's about amplification and lifting as we climb, as Ida and Mary say. And it's a story, it's a generational love letter that we can make a promise to those that come after us, that we'll leave it a little bit better than we found it, and we hope you do the same.
Awesome. And Laura, tell us again when people can see it and where.
Yeah, we're gonna be downtown Memphis at the Orpheum. We're gonna be there July 31st through August 2nd. We've got 4 shows there, and I do hope that you will come and spend some time with us. Come march with us. Come see what it's all about. I promise you'll laugh. I promise you'll have a good time. You'll probably laugh at me.
I love it. Laura, let me tell you, you're doing your job here, because you are convincing me and so many others. Like, you make me excited to want to check it out, the way you talk about the history and your passion for it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here and for talking about it.
My absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see you, Memphis. I love you.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. We appreciate it. You have a good am joined by Mara Park. She's the owner of Pigtails and Crew Cuts Germantown in East Memphis. And she's got a really great topic that I'm sure some people may not have thought of. I know when I heard about this, I thought, wow, this is really great and helpful stuff. She's going to be talking about ensuring that your children with sensory disorders or disabilities can get their haircuts without fear. So, Mara, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you?
I am wonderful. We're so happy to have you. First of all, tell us a little bit about this and about you and why this is such an important topic for you.
Well, so Pigtails and Crew Cuts, we've been in the Memphis area for 11 years. My original location was the Germantown location. And I opened because my son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and sensory processing disorder when he was born. We didn't notice the sensory issues until he got a little bit older. And I remember telling my husband after going place to place to place, looking for somewhere that I felt safe for him to get a haircut, where he would cry or he would kick and scream. And it wasn't easy for us or the stylist, that we needed somewhere in this area for kids to be able to go and be kids. And if they didn't like getting a haircut, that mom and dad would feel safe knowing that they weren't judged and that they could come in and get the best experience possible for their little one and themselves.
No, that's incredible. So tell us, what are some things that you do or that parents should know if they do have a child with a disability or sensory issues that can sort of help in this sort of thing?
Well, the first thing I would tell parents is that this is what we're here for. This is what we cater to kids, period, regardless if they're typical peers or if they have any kind of, what I like to say is everyone has a special kid, some just have extra needs. And I don't love always saying special needs kids because I feel like that pigeonholes them into a category. I like to just say that some kids just need extra help and extra love. So we make sure to provide a colorful and warm environment with themed chairs and movies and kids fun music and just toys. We have a train table, just all those things. But I also make sure that my staff understands me as a mom of a child that has extra needs, what I look for and what I expect as a consumer. And then we put that forth into our culture to make sure that everybody knows when a mom comes in, whether your child loves a haircut or not, we're just going to assume that they are the only person that matters, that they're the ones in the chair, and that's what we're here for every single day.
And what sort of reaction have you gotten from parents who are a little nervous at first, then afterwards they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for that? Or from the kids themselves who may be a little nervous? What sort of reactions do you get and how does it make you feel seeing that?
Well, that's exactly the reaction is, wow, we didn't know what to expect, or I was so scared. Thank you so much. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that we've been here for 11 years doing this, and we have the staff that have been with me since we started and opened the doors, and we've watched these kids grow up. And it's funny to watch these kids that we started seeing when they were 6 and 7 years old, and now they're 18 and they're graduating high school and they're coming back and seeing us and just telling us how important it was to them and how special it was that we made them feel good and we made them feel like they were somebody. And that's what makes me feel good about it.
I love that. Is there anything else you want to add that I didn't get a chance to ask you regarding this?
I would just say, please come visit us at Pigtails and Crew Cuts. We have a location in Germantown and one in East Memphis. We love all the kids, all your kids. We love you all, and we thank everybody for supporting us for so long. That we're going to be here as long as you continue to support us.
I love that. And thank you so much, Mara, for just highlighting such an important topic that I know so many parents find appreciative. And maybe if they didn't know that you all do this, they will see this story and check you out. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I hope you have a great week.
All right, you too.
Folks, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We've received word about funeral arrangements for U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. Of course, his cause of death was determined to be a condition called aortic dissection, hoping I'm pronouncing that right. And our friends at Regional One were proactive in offering us a medical professional to raise awareness here in Memphis and the Mid-South. And I'm joined now by that very expert. We've got Dr. Erica Mitchell. She's the medical director of vascular and endovascular surgery at Regional One. She's here to answer a couple of basic questions just on how we can stay heart healthy, heart conscious, and make sure that when conditions like this make national headlines, we can do our due diligence to make sure we here are taking proper precautions. Dr. Mitchell, good morning. Thank you for coming on and joining us. Let's first start with the easy question of what is aortic dissection? First, am I saying it correctly? And then what are the run-of-the-mill symptoms for folks to be on the lookout for? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for the question. Yes, aortic dissection is a tear in the main artery arising out of the heart. Typically, there are 3 layers of arterial wall, and when a tear occurs in this wall, it can disrupt the flow to the major arteries going to the heart, the abdominal viscera, so those are organs in the abdomen, so kidney, liver, spleen, stomach, intestines, and also down to the legs. So when a dissection occurs, it can be extremely life-threatening, depending on the type, and there are 2 types. One is type A, and that arises immediately off of the heart. And type B is when it comes from the artery just below the artery going to the arm. So that's really a descending thoracic aortic dissection.
Got it. And so what are the warning signs? It sounds like some of these conditions, you don't recognize it until it's too late, but maybe there are some telltale signs, something to be on the lookout for. What would some of those be?
Yes, immediately you would feel a sensation of tearing chest pain or chest pain that descends down to the stomach or intestines or even down to the legs. So immediate rip roaring chest pain is definitely a sign that you might have an aortic dissection.
Understood. And so go ahead.
I was going to say risk factors for aortic dissection are sustained high blood pressure. So if you have blood pressure that is not controlled, if you have a congenital condition or maybe a genetic condition, there are 6 conditions that have abnormalities in the connective tissue of the aorta. And then, of course, patients at risk with peripheral arterial disease, that's high blood pressure, smoking history, men over 60 are at higher risk of aortic dissection.
Understood. And so what are our preventative measures? Obviously, if you're feeling some of these symptoms, these tearing chest pains you're talking about, if it's extending to limbs, your arm, your leg, what are some precautions that you can take? Obviously, you would probably encourage going to see a specialist, but if you have that high blood pressure, that sustained high blood pressure, what are some of the things that you can do to try and tamp down some of those symptoms and make sure that you're snuffing this out before it gets worse?
Absolutely. If you have a family history of a connective tissue disorder, you certainly need to be seen by your vascular surgeon or your hospitalist or specialist routinely. But maintaining good blood pressure, avoiding tobacco products, and of course, if you have these symptoms, the first thing that you need to do is seek immediate medical attention and go to the emergency department. And the first thing that they will do is bring down this blood pressure. If you have a type A dissection, and that's the one that arises right outside of your heart, that requires immediate operation of replacement of that portion of the aorta that is affected. Mortality rates are about 2% per hour. So at 48 hours, that means you're not going to survive. And about 40% of patients don't survive if you have a type A dissection. If you have a type B dissection, that's the dissection that arises just below the artery going to the left arm. That the medical management for that immediately is blood pressure control. And if you have symptoms of malperfusion, that means not enough blood going to the intestines, to the kidneys, to the legs, that would require immediate stent placement. So that's going inside of the artery, placing a tube inside of the artery to tack down that wall so that you get flow to the arteries that are essential for life.
Understood. So certainly time is of the essence, especially when you talk about that type A. So obviously it sounds
Yes.
like Regional 1, where you are, has the technology, the capabilities to go in and look for those tears in that heart region to try and make that determination. And you just said it yourself, if it's type B, blood pressure management is paramount. And so how often do we see conditions like this in Memphis? You know, we have our history with heart attack and stroke. Obviously, those are the big ones that people know very well. But I think aortic dissection is a new term we're starting to add to our medical vernacular. How many times do we see this compared to a heart attack or a stroke? And how many times do we get confused with, say, a heart attack compared to aortic dissection?
It's not as common as a heart attack or a stroke. However, when you do get these symptoms, it's urgent that you get immediate treatment, because unlike a heart attack or a stroke, this condition can be terminal in some patients, as experienced, unfortunately, by Senator Lindsey Graham.
When you talk about that tearing sensation, that symptom we're looking for, if we're to look at maybe perhaps a pain scale, 1 to 10, what do you think is something we obviously don't want someone to, you know, sort of make it up in their head that they feel a little bit of a ting in their chest and they think, oh my gosh, do I have aortic dissection? I got to go to the hospital real quick. If we're looking for that tearing sensation you're talking about, I imagine this would be excruciating pain, something that would send alarm bells, and not maybe one that we would question, is this the sensation I'm feeling? But I see you nodding your head, so I'm on the
Yes.
the right path here. Yeah.
Yes, this pain will probably be described as a 20 out of 10. So it's really tearing, acute or rapid chest pain that's tearing, or a sensation of ripping, which is unlike the feelings of a heart attack, which may be an elephant sitting on your chest, or pain that's radiating to your left arm, or stroke where you're having more of a headache or symptoms of not being able to move your arm or your leg, or visual changes or speech changes. This is distinctly different chest pain, and one would know immediately. It needs immediate attention.
I think 20 out of 10 is a great way to remember that. So we're talking excruciating pain. Okay, so Dr. Mitchell, we've kind of thrown a lot in perhaps a medical fire hose at our viewers here. We've talked about the different types, type A, type B, some of the telltale signs, the symptoms that we can be on the lookout for. But overall, just in your experience, in what you have seen in your caseload, what is one important takeaway for folks to think about when they think of aortic dissection? You know, what is the most important thing people need to remember from this conversation?
Yes, it typically arises in men over 60. Sustained high blood pressure and stress can certainly lead to that. And anyone with risk factors for peripheral arterial disease, and there is a subset, women that are pregnant can also, with unsustained high blood pressure, can also be affected with aortic dissection.
I have
So
one
I
more
would-
question. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. No, please go ahead.
It's more of a personal question, because you talk about stress being a contributing factor. You know, I have a slight history, not with cardiovascular disease, but I worked a very stressful job before coming into TV, and went to a cardiologist, and it was a combination of stress and also an overconsumption of caffeine that led to some heart palpitations. Fortunately, heart is strong. The ticker is working just fine. We raked in on the caffeine intake. Went to, if you can believe it, that TV is a less stressful job than the one I had earlier. But some of the other contributing factors, stress we talked about, I would imagine, overconsumption of caffeine, working that heart. What are some other, over-exercising for men over 60 who might still be trying to stay in shape? What are some of those contributing factors that people can be on the lookout for? And, maybe they don't have the symptom, but they might want to consult a cardiologist and see what their proper course of action needs to be in that 60-plus range to still stay active, stay fit, but be mindful of your heart condition. I'm very curious.
Yes. Well, I can imagine that you still have a lot of stress in your job, but it's eliminating those risk factors of high blood pressure. So if you know you have a history of high blood pressure, definitely take your medications, or make sure that your medication regime is appropriate. Avoid stressful conditions. Some people do say that there is a higher risk with things that raise your blood pressure. So amphetamines, cocaine use, obviously avoid those.
Sure.
Activities that increase your blood pressure, but most importantly, risk factors for peripheral arterial disease as well. So that's tobacco use, age, routine exercise, managing your cholesterol, and having a healthy diet and exercise. So the usual things we say as vascular surgeons to avoid arterial disease.
It always seems like it's the usual things, the duh advice, but hey, look, it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Dr. Erica Mitchell, anything else you'd like to add or touch on that I might not have addressed?
I would say follow up routinely with your physician, avoid the risk factors, and if you do experience these symptoms, seek medical treatment immediately.
Again, simplicity is key. Consult your doctor and, again, pay attention to those symptoms, folks. 20 out of 10, that's our pain scale. Dr. Erica Mitchell and the folks at Regional 1, thank you again for offering this advice off the heels of some tragic news from the U.S. Capitol. We really thank you for, again, the medical guidance and for coming on to give us here locally some insight into aortic dissection. We appreciate you. All right, folks, we're going to get to some national news. It's been no secret, obviously, if you step outside, that we've had our fair share of heat in terms of weather, but in the Midwest and in the New England area, there have been a string of severe storms, tornadic activity. We've got some incredible videos shot by resident storm chasers, areas of the country that are trying to pick up the pieces. It's worth noting that there have been no fatalities. I say that on the forefront so that you watch this video and then you can tell yourself, okay, no one died, which is always a good thing. We're going to start the farthest west we can. This is in Appleton, Wisconsin.
For a while I thought I was a goner.
This video Autumn Willett's dash cameras captured shows how incredibly fortunate she is to be able to tell us about her Monday lunch break.
And I was on Spencer Street, and I was probably within a mile of where I work. And I crossed the train tracks, and the difference in the weather was night and day. It's like the sky just opened up and the rain came down, the winds came out of nowhere. And I was trying to speed up to get into a parking lot and safely off the road. And the poles just snapped and came down on both sides of my vehicle.
Within 30 seconds of her vehicle becoming trapped, Willett was on the phone with 911.
I'm on Spencer Street. The power lines are down and I'm caught in the middle of it in my car.
I watched the video back and I can't believe how calm I was.
I'm not hurt, but I'm in my car and the power lines are down all the way around me and the wind's blowing really bad.
I think your calmness is what's really surprising people who've seen the video. How did you not freak out, swear, anything?
I have no idea, because normally that would be my reaction. I don't know if I just immediately went into shock or the adrenaline took over, but watching it back, I'm surprised at how calm I was.
Willett says she waited about 45 minutes before someone from We Energies came to safely get her out of her vehicle. The horrific situation left her vehicle only with scratches and a missing mirror.
Overall, it's okay. I was able to drive it home last night.
A miracle she'll be talking about the rest of her life, especially as she works in insurance, letting customers know putting in dash cameras can prove to be a valuable purchase.
I definitely will be telling people that it's a good investment.
my bed right there, literally where it fell in.
Robert Redmond says he was at work when the storm hit. His mother and 2 young children were in the Hazel Crest home and hid in the basement.
My daughter, of course, she was really frantic, talking about how there's a tornado and everything is gone. The house is gone, the roof is gone. My son was really scared.
Parts of Hazel Crest are hard to recognize today. Most of the townhomes in this complex are uninhabitable.
Do not try to stay in a unit that is not safe. We are telling them right now, the American Red Cross, they have placement in Steger. I know it's a little bit of a hike, but they have shelter there.
A section of Lansing was hard hit as well at Wildwood and 192nd Place. Bill Simon was home and says he just made it to the basement with his son in time.
It was like, I swear it was like the Wizard of Oz. It was like spinning, and I never saw anything like it. It was like a cyclone. The whole house started just to vibrate, like a giant was shaking the house, and I heard all the glass blow out.
Dennis Sidke and his wife were home. He tells us he has stage 4 cancer, and a stranger helped him out of his house.
It was unbelievable because some guy I don't even know helped me get out of there. You know, he climbed into the house, and the door opened finally. Because we couldn't open the door, me and the wife. So, crazy.
I had a push, I fell into the wall. And I'm thinking like, who pushed me? But I looked back, and I seen this dark. I fell on the ground, closed my eyes, and everything started happening that quick.
The force of the winds pushed Rob Griffin to the ground and tore open his home. He and his fiancée are grateful no one was hurt. Today, they are coping with the emotions of the traumatic situation.
I mean, to just see your home, somewhere that you called your sanctuary, you don't have it no more. And I'm always in my bedroom, and the whole roof just collapsed. I could have been in that bed, and that's all in my head I'm saying, like, I could have been in that bed, the whole roof collapsed. So it's hard.
Very hard story out of Illinois. And now we're going to take you to the Northeast, where at last look at the National Weather Service radar, there is still a very active storm cell. This same storm cell that has been sweeping through, it is currently hovering over upstate New York as well as Rhode Island, Connecticut. Still a lot of rain, a lot of flooding in for that areas, but here's a recap of what the Northeast has experienced so far.
It just got dark and windy. It rained so bad that you couldn't even see out your window.
Communities across the Northeast slammed with violent storms Tuesday.
I just hunkered down. My dog is very scared of the thunder.
Some parts of the region were forecast to possibly get more than a month's worth of rain through the night. Flash flood watches were in effect for tens of millions of people, from Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, as well as parts of New England, down to Maryland, where street flooding in Baltimore was bad enough to leave cars partially submerged. The high water got so bad in some areas that crews had to carry out rescues, including in the town of Coalport, Pennsylvania, where 3 people and 2 dogs had to be rescued from a home. The destructive weather pushed further south, too, with storms powerful enough to send a massive tree crashing into this house in the Washington, D.C. area. The storm threat stretched even farther south into the Carolinas, where the rain was so heavy in Charlotte that it completely obscured the skyline for a time. Elsewhere in the state, a City of Asheville public meeting was put on hold for a tornado warning and evacuation. It comes as communities in the Midwest are still reeling from storms that struck earlier in the week. The National Weather Service confirming that at least 4 tornadoes hit the Chicago area Monday. I'm Reed Binion.
All right, guys, some more national news. As we talked about in yesterday's show, in the nation's capital, many world leaders, national leaders gathered for the funeral of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. Part of that included, just coincidental timing, it was part of it where two particular world leaders sat down with President Donald Trump. That would be Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. We've got a recap on what those talks entailed.
It's not often we have two different world leaders at the White House on the same day for separate meetings with the president, but that's exactly what we saw take place here Tuesday. President Trump hosted both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as well as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. These meetings took place ahead of funeral services for former Republican Senator Lindsey Graham in Washington. Now, both of these meetings stayed behind closed doors, but we did hear from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt afterwards, who called them both positive and productive in a post on X. And we know that the war in Iran, as well as the war between Russia and Ukraine, were expected to be discussed. When it comes to the war in Iran, a major question hanging over this meeting between Trump and Netanyahu is just how aligned are these two leaders when it comes to the war in Iran right now. Trump yesterday acknowledged that there is a little difference between them, although he said overall they are pretty closely aligned. And then for Zelensky, it was just a few weeks ago that he and Trump sat down together on the sidelines of the NATO summit in Turkey. There, Trump announced the U.S. would be looking into allowing Ukraine to produce its own Patriot air defense system, something Ukraine has long said it's needed. In a post on X after the meeting, Zelensky confirmed that the two did discuss Patriots. He also said they talked about diplomacy, and overall he said the meeting was good. At the White House, I'm Maddie Gannon.
Now to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. More on that, actually, where Netanyahu is calling this one of the best meetings he's had with the president, which, if it's true, would be good news considering the two have been at odds over the last several months regarding the war with Iran. There have been some disagreements on how to handle the conflict, so there was a lot of uncertainty going into this meeting, if it was going to stay on script, if it would be contentious. But we've got a recap here on how, at least on the outside looking in, talks seemed to go well.
Israel, many commentators here felt like the Prime Minister had lost the ear of President Trump and his ability to influence him, and that the war wasn't done. And that's part of the Prime Minister's point in the meetings today, is that Iran is still a threat, its nuclear capabilities are still a threat, that it's a job undone. Although what we're hearing from senior Israeli source here is that this was an excellent and comprehensive meeting, how it's being described, essentially a meeting of minds that on the issue of Iran, where they're both in lockstep. They both reiterated ironclad commitment that Iran will never have nuclear weapons. So, you know, what's being projected from around the Prime Minister here is a positive meeting. It belies the tone that the President gave on that Fox and Friends interview. However, we've also heard from the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, speaking on TV here a little earlier this evening, saying that, yes, there are differences between what the United States and what Israel wants in the war with Iran. And absolutely they do see Iran still as being a threat. He also said something we haven't heard Israeli officials put on the record before, and whether this was to sort of try to show a U.S. audience how much Israel is helping the United States at the moment, even though it's not engaged or hasn't been engaged over the past few weeks in strikes on Iran. He said that U.S. fighter jets have been taking off from Israel for their strike missions on Iran. Now, it was common knowledge that the U.S. refuel tanker aircraft, the Stratotanker KC-135s, were being based here in Israel and were being used to support that military operation. But here is putting on the record, the defense minister here, saying that actually U.S. fighter jets are taking off from here, which in a way puts Israel in some level of jeopardy from response from Iran, which has not done that and has been seen as a signal of Iran not wanting to escalate so far. So the messaging, I think, here is is very much around the Prime Minister to project a positive image of a positive relationship with President Trump, because Prime Minister Netanyahu needs that in the polls here, and reaffirming here in Israel for a US audience and a domestic one, of course, that Israel is doing everything to support the United States in its war with Iran.
Thanks for joining us here on the Digital Desk. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Addison Bentley. Got some showers in the area still for your morning hours. Those are slowly decreasing as we head into the next couple of hours. By the afternoon, though, we're topping off into the lower 90s, which is the positive note for you. We're looking at that cloud coverage for the morning, sunshine for the afternoon, and slowly dropping back into the 70s overnight. As far as rain coverage for the day, the highest chance you're going to see mainly to the west of us and to the south of us as we head into the next couple of hours. But by tonight, we are dropping in about 74 degrees. Winds from the northeast about 5 to 10, mostly clear, still warm, still muggy. So stepping out the door for your Thursday, still sticky conditions. But the positive note again is that those feel-like temperatures only sticking into the 90s, which will be back into the 80s by your Saturday, Sunday, as well as your Monday, sticking below average. Still our average temperature is about 92 degrees. As you can see, below that for the weekend and heading into the start of the work week. Let's break down what you can expect for the next 7 days, though. By your Wednesday, we're looking at about 91 degrees to top us off, about 30% chance of rain. Now, again, that's mainly going to be in those morning hours, so you can expect that to slowly taper off heading into the afternoon, giving way to some sunshine for most of our areas in our northern counties. So we're looking at Dyer County, we're looking at Crockett County, we're looking at McNairy County, Hardeman County. By Thursday, 93 degrees, warming us fairly quickly for the afternoon. The sunshine still returning for us by Friday into your Saturday overnight. We're seeing another front move through into the early mornings on your Saturday, giving another chance for some rain. Now, some could have some downpours, some gusty winds on them, 1 or 2 of those potentially. Heading into the afternoon on your Saturday, though, 88 degrees. I expect most afternoon to be dry. So if you have any plans Saturday heading into Sunday, most of them will be dry. Which is the positive note for you heading into your Sunday, topping us off about 86, still below average. That's about 5 to 6 degrees below average. So a nice cooler day in store for your Sunday as you head into your Monday. Heading out to school in the early hours, we'll start off into the 70s, about 72 degrees. So won't really need a jacket just yet as we head closer to the fall, and we're heading into August this weekend. But 88 degrees top us off by your Monday afternoon, as well as 90s for your Tuesday afternoon, with those rain chances coming back Friday and continuing into Tuesday. Thanks for joining us.
Well, let's have a look at something good on this Wednesday. So, can you believe it? I certainly can't. That Tom Holland has been Spider-Man at this point for 10 years. We have a look back on his decade as the friendly neighborhood. in this Hollywood Minute.
Hey everyone.
Tom Holland made his big screen Spider-Man debut in 2016's Captain America: Civil War, introducing the web slinger into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
This is my chance to prove myself.
2017 saw Holland suit up for his own movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
You said save the wizard!
In 2018, Holland found himself blasting off in Avengers: Infinity War, turned to dust by Thanos, and brought back for the climax of Avengers: Endgame in 2019.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
What? Mere months after the events of Endgame, Holland was back in theaters in Spider-Man: Far From Home.
I've only had 1 week where my life has felt normal.
In 2021, Holland's Spidey came face to face with Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's wall crawlers in Spider-Man: No Way Home, and had a mid-credits cameo in Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
I promised you that I would keep you safe. Please, you just have to trust me.
5 years later, Holland is back in Spider-Man: Brand New Day, with the world still unaware who the hero under the mask is. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagella.
We've got a topic coming up in an interview that I think most people can relate to, right? It is summer, of course, and it is getting extremely hot outside. Even if you're outside for just a few minutes, you just feel how toasty it can get. And of course, with the rising temperatures, it's important to know how to stay safe when those temperatures do climb. And joining us now from Regional 1 Hospital is Dr. Anna Yang. She's here to help us separate the normal, it's hot outside that we could be experiencing with when we may need to, take things more serious, any signs and things of that nature. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, so first, let's talk about, in general, heat-related illness, right? We talk or we hear about that word often. Can you explain what that is and how we may know that something may be a little more serious?
Yeah, so there's a whole range of heat-related illness. I mean, we have things, as minor as just some, very mild dehydration and feeling warm to, heat exhaustion being, more significant warning signs from the body that this needs to be taken care of quickly. And then all the way down to the most severe with heat stroke, where somebody's body can no longer compensate for the heat outside. And it's gotten to the point where it's affected their brain function and their ability to think and mentally function at all. So there's a huge range of different things.
Absolutely. And Dr. Yang, I want to apologize. I want to take a step back and rewind. Tell us exactly your title and what your everyday work is at Regional 1 Health.
Yeah, no problem. I am an emergency medicine physician and also a family medicine physician as well.
Okay, so I imagine you see a lot of things, especially when it comes to this topic. Have you started to see any heat-related illnesses, or is it still a little too early in the summer for that? What are you seeing right now?
No, it's definitely not too early. I mean, the weather's kind of been fluctuating lately, and so what we've been seeing has also been fluctuating. But definitely with the more extreme temperatures, we are seeing a lot of heat-related problems and symptoms. Most of them, fortunately, have been minor and fairly, straightforward and simple to correct, and they've generally done really well. But there have been some cases where it has not been so straightforward, and there have been some pretty significant heat-related injuries as well. But the temperature alone doesn't account for it too, right? If the temperature is high and not necessarily extreme, but what the person's been doing is prolonged exposure, or they're at higher risk, or they're doing some intense activity, you can get heat-related, pretty significant heat-related illnesses too, even when the weather isn't necessarily, that temperature number isn't necessarily that high.
No, for sure. That's a good point. Can you talk about who's most at risk? I would imagine it, impacts everybody, but I'm sure there are some people or different groups that kind of could be more susceptible to this sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the typical, young, healthy adult with no major medical conditions generally do really well as long as you listen to the, signs and symptoms of your body. Get inside when you feel like it, making sure, you're staying protected with your skin and staying hydrated. Most of the time, those things are adequate for your, regular, normal, healthy adult person. However, very young people and older people as well don't have that ability in their bodies necessarily to protect themselves or regulate their own bodies. Internally, it's generally the hypothalamus portion of the brain that regulates temperature. And so when we feel hot, when our body receives that signal that the temperature is rising, we sweat, we are able to get our blood vessels dilate to try to release some of that heat. And for the most part, that's a great, cooling mechanism. But, older people and the very young have a difficult time doing that. On the other side of it too, we have, our homeless population and also those with mental health illnesses as well. And if they're either unable to get somewhere cool or unable to have access to, hydration or skin protection methods, or just can't mentally figure out how to do these things or don't know to do those things, these people are at very high risk as well.
Absolutely. For me, you mentioned children as well. I'm a mom. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I think about the car seat in the back seat and how hot it gets. And even if you have, a newer car, sometimes there's not vents in the back. And so anyway, I'm thinking about how I can keep my kids safe and whether we're in the car or outside playing on the playground. I know staying hydrated is important. How much water is enough? And what are some other things we can kind of do to making sure that we're cooling ourselves off or, just staying hydrated?
Yeah, so there are a lot of numbers floating around out there on how much water somebody should drink. Some of them are weight-based, but I think the most important thing is to listen to your body. So, before you go outside, make sure you're preparing for that and already starting the hydration process so that you get ahead of it. But definitely any signs of, dry mouth, your urine is darker, or, you just feel more tired, or, even a little bit lightheaded. Those are already signs that you're in kind of the mild dehydration phase. And so you really need to get ahead of the water. And in general, water is sufficient unless somebody is heavily sweating and losing a lot of electrolytes really quickly. And in that case, some of those electrolyte drinks can help improve the efficiency of rehydration.
And at what point does somebody know, okay, hey, I recognize signs, I need to take a step back, drink more water, get in the shade, versus I need to go to the emergency room and see a Dr. Yang, for example? What are the differences? How do we know when it's getting a little more extreme?
Yeah, so for the most part, heat exhaustion is something that can be managed, sometimes with the help of, friends and family, but most of the time, your usual dehydration, feeling unwell, heat exhaustion can be managed without a trip to the emergency room. That includes things like, getting to a cool location as quickly as possible. Evaporative cooling is very effective. So if in addition to the sweat you're already producing, spraying someone with water and then getting them in front of a fan, that kind of evaporation effect is great for cooling. Putting ice packs in areas that have kind of blood vessels that come right up to the skin to help your internal body release some of that heat. So areas like the armpits or the groin or the neck or even the wrists are really great for that as well. So most of the time after this, drinking water, remaining in that cool environment for a while, people feel significantly better and can go back to their, normal day. But if that isn't working, then that's the time to go and get some help. Or if it's so severe to the point where somebody's confused, not acting quite right, they seem kind of out of it, maybe they're hallucinating even, something's mentally wrong, then definitely get them straight to the ER at that point.
And before I let you go, are there any, heat safety or heat related myths that you wish people would stop believing or may not be as true as we hear about or think?
I mean, I think the most common thing we hear about is just that somebody thought it just couldn't happen to them, right? They're fine. They're a healthy person, so this couldn't possibly happen to me. And not preparing for it and not thinking about it is usually when people get into trouble. But as long as you do think about it and prepare for it, and it's a head to toe process. It's not just, making sure you have water, but also, dressing appropriately, having a wide brimmed hat, wearing, loose, light clothing, good breathable footwear, socks, sunscreen. I mean, all sorts of things all play into preventing heat-related injuries. And as long as you think about those things and, don't assume that just because you're baseline healthy doesn't mean this couldn't possibly happen to you. As long as you protect yourself, most people will do just fine.
Awesome. Very important and timely tips. Dr. Yang, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And things are only going to get hotter from here. Let's be honest. We live in the Mid-South, right? So
Yep.
Thank you for these.
And the
helpful tips. We
humidity,
appreciate
that adds to
Oh,
it for sure.
I know it. It is brutal out there. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, sometime this summer.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much.